Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. You know, I open carry a lot. Now, am I saying open carry is where it's at? That's the thing to do? No, I'm not here to settle the concealed carry versus open carry debate. I just personally choose to open carry a lot because I'm lazy. And I'm old and I don't want to be uncomfortable. And open carry is just more comfortable and easier than concealed carry. So I choose to open carry. And because of this, a lot of people ask me all the time, what are some of the do's and don'ts of open carry? What should you do and what shouldn't you do if you don't want to make it a bad experience? You know, just what are some simple things to keep in mind if you choose to open carry? Well, one of the best things I have always said you can do, the real secret to being a successful open carrier is be white. It works, especially being a white man, middle-aged. If I live to be 110, I could still say I'm middle-aged. But it really helps. Being white is awesome. I suggest anyone out there try it if you have the option, because it is pretty damn nice. If you want to talk about getting the benefit of the doubt from people around you and police, being white is one of the best things you can do. I'm not degrading any other colors. I'm just saying if you haven't tried being white, you should, because it's awesome. But most people can't do that if they're not already that. So let's go over some basic do's and don'ts of open carry if you want to do it successfully. Now, these aren't hard, fast rules, but they're things you should keep in mind when you decide to open carry. Now, first thing is a do. Do choose an appropriate gun. Remember, that gun is still there primarily to defend you. It's not there as a showpiece. So choose a gun that you think would be successful in defending your life, that you'd be successful with. That's the main purpose of that gun. So do choose an appropriate gun. Don't choose a gun based solely on its looks, just because it's big and showy or pretty or whatever. Because if it's like a big gold-plated Desert Eagle and it's not going to work when you need it, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And plus, unless you're trying to make a point, or you're going somewhere where, like a barbecue or a wedding, where you want it to be pretty, you probably shouldn't be wanting to draw all that much attention to your gun. If you've got a bright bespangled gun with, ivory grips laden with emeralds or whatever, you're going to draw attention you probably don't want if you're just concealed carrying for the heck of it. Now, if you're out there trying to make a point as a political activist, go right ahead. Carry whatever you want. Or if you're going to a wedding or anything like that, feel free to ignore this advice. But still remember, even if it's like a wedding and I'm probably not going to have to use my gun, there's going to be other people there with guns, so I'm going to carry my gold-plated Desert Eagle. It's not reliable, but it's going to be great with my outfit. If that's the case, feel free to ignore this don't. But otherwise, like I said, don't choose a gun solely on looks and whether it'll draw attention, unless that's exactly what you're wanting to do. Another big do when you're open carrying is act like you belong there. Wherever you go, act like that's normal for you to be there. That this is something you've done before. That you're not out of place. It's kind of like when you have a conversation with guys on the internet, especially gun guys on the internet, and they see a gun video or something, and it's got a girl in it and her titties are jiggling. And they're like, oh my God, titties! You gotta watch it, it's got titties in it. And I'm like, could you at least act like you've seen a titty before? Maybe even touched one? Because if you had, you probably wouldn't get that excited about it. Same thing with open carrying. Go someplace, act like you belong there. Don't act like it's my first time here, I don't know what to do. Because that draws attention to yourself, makes you look suspicious. So don't do that. Act like you belong. And like I said, the big don't is don't act nervous. Don't act suspicious. Don't have stilted movements or be looking around all the time like you think people are watching you. People notice when you're acting weird. If you're acting normal, you could probably be, have dildos hanging off the back of your head. People wouldn't notice. But if you're acting weird, they'll notice that. So don't act suspicious, don't act nervous, don't act weird. Another do is about appearance. Physical appearance, not behavior. And that's dress appropriately. And I don't care if you're in dirty clothes. If you've actually, like if you're going to Home Depot and you've been working on a diesel engine all day, it's fine that you look like you've been working on a diesel engine. And it looks like you belong there. But don't wear provocative shirts, things like that. Don't wear like I would never wear my "Be kind to animals or I'll kill you" shirt while I was open carrying. That's when concealed carrying would come into effect. So dress appropriately. Look like, you're a civilized human being, for one. And also, like I said, keep the slogans and stuff to a minimum, especially the violent ones. Like America or I'll blow your ass away. Or, don't wear those things while you're open carrying. You don't want to appear to be making threats with your attire while you're carrying. So that's a do. It's a do and a don't. It is do dress appropriately, but don't, be threatening overtly. It's just not a good thing to do. It's not something most people would choose to do. You're not making a point. A lot of people go out there and think they're making a point, being like, look, I got a threatening t-shirt on and I got a gun on and I dare anybody to say or do anything. I don't know what your point is if you're just trying to make yourself look like a jerk for intimidating people around you. That's actually not even legal in most cases. So I recommend against it. That's like I was saying, if you're protesting, if you're trying to make a point, it's best to conceal carry. That's when that comes into play. You don't want to give away your advantages anyway. Another don't that kind of deals with dressing appropriately, we'll add another don't here. Don't obscure your face. I see people open carrying with hoodies on, or at protests open and carrying with hoodies and masks. Most times good guys don't conceal their identity. Now, I know there are times when you could be doing that, like if you fear retribution from the government or powerful people, but usually just going about your daily life, that's not a concern. So don't obscure your face with scarves, or that's why I don't like the whole mask thing. That's why I didn't like the mask mandate. Am I supposed to wear a mask when I'm open carrying? To me, that doesn't sound very safe. So I don't like that. Don't obscure your face. Don't wear hoodies. Don't do stuff like that when you're open carrying. I just don't think it's appropriate. And even whether you think it's appropriate or not, I can guarantee you it will draw attention to you. That's something you don't want to do while you're open carrying. Unless, of course, you're being an activist and you're trying to start conversations. If that's the case, do whatever you want to do. Another do is be polite and courteous. Hold the door for people. Say please and thank you. Say yes ma'am, yes sir, or excuse me ma'am, or excuse me sir, or excuse me miss. Be polite when you're interacting with salespeople at stores, cashiers, people at the gas pumps. Be a polite person. Be a friendly person. Be an inviting person. Have an inviting personality. Because that really makes people more comfortable. If they're like, oh, that jolly old fat man, when they look at me over there, has a gun on his hip. He's probably a cop, or else he's just a gun lover, or blah, 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 an activist, whatever. If I'm an asshole, they're going to be like, look at that fucking asshole with the gun. He's probably looking to cause trouble. So if you're an asshole, maybe don't open carry. Maybe stay home. Or conceal carry. Or at least don't interact with people if you're going to be an asshole. Because that is something that's very important. Be polite and courteous. Don't give people a reason to distrust you. Give them a reason to like you. And then maybe you can start a conversation about the gun. A positive one. And that brings me to don't look for conflict. That's a big don't. Don't go out trying to be rude to people, wanting people to say something negative about your gun or say something negative about you so that you can argue with them. I love arguing. I'm a big debate guy. I love contrary opinions. But that's not the place to do it while you're open carrying, going about your everyday life. In a controlled situation, like at a protest, whatever, that's different circumstances. But when you're just trying to get gas or go to Jiffy Lube or Fred Meyer's, that's not a time to look for conflict. When you wear your gun openly for self-defense, that should be what it's about, just in case something bad happens. It isn't a catalyst to cause conflict. And if you see it as that, maybe you should reconsider carrying. Now, another do when you're carrying is just be yourself. Act like it's not there. If you act like the gun is there, like, oh my God, I got to avoid certain situations because I've got my gun on, as long as it's legal for you to have it, I mean, it's okay to avoid going into the post office and schools and stuff because that's illegal. But like, don't cross the street because you see a cop walking down the street, or don't dart to another aisle because you see someone, in an aisle and you don't want them to see that you're carrying a gun, especially law enforcement, people like that. So just be yourself, pretend it's not there, do anything you would normally do. And the biggest don't about open carrying is just don't do anything or go anywhere that you wouldn't go or do if you weren't carrying a gun, period. Don't let your gun make you brave, and don't think your gun is going to intimidate other people into not starting shit with you so that you go somewhere you normally wouldn't go because it's not safe. In fact, I always, you have to be on your best behavior, I always say, when you're carrying. And you have to make better decisions. You have to go out of your way to not get into conflict. You have to decide that your ego is not as important when you're carrying. And part of that is deciding, hey, that's a rough part of town over there. I ain't going there. Not even open carrying. Because in that case, you could make yourself a target. You can't look around yourself all the time. You don't have eyes in the back of your head. If you're in a large group of people and they take exception to the fact that you're somewhere that you wouldn't normally be and you got a gun on your hip, that could be bad. So just make good decisions. Don't do anything you wouldn't do. Don't say anything you wouldn't say. Don't go anywhere you wouldn't go if you weren't carrying at all. That's pretty simple. And if you follow these simple do's and don'ts, and like I said, they don't all apply always. There are times when you want to go out and you want people to notice your gun. There are times when you go out and you're protesting and you think that the gun is the topic of conversation. And you want to start that conversation or that debate. So like I said, there's all kinds of exceptions to pretty much every rule. But if you follow these simple things, these just simple, courteous things, just behaving like you would normally behave, open carrying is not going to be a problem for most people, depending on where you live. Not like if you live in downtown LA and you're open carrying, probably going to have a problem. As long as it's legal where you're at and you act, like I said, like you belong there and you're not a dick to everybody and you don't do things you wouldn't normally do, I think you'll be just fine, and especially if you're white. All right, everybody, I went long there, so that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope you come back again tomorrow or come to the live chat tonight. We do live chats every night from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., except for Monday and Wednesday when they're from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., and those are Pacific times. So that is 6 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Pacific time, or specific time, as we say in West Virginia. There is a link in the upper corner of this video that you can come over and join us. And with that being said, like I already said, I am out of here. But before I go, I want to remind everyone out there to always carry, whether it's open or concealed. And stay safe until I see you again.